What's up, everybody? My name is Jasmine Cofield. Check out my new article, Leading the PAC. You already know, because PAs do that. My background is, I would consider it very dynamic, but straightforward in my decision to become a PA. I am from Flint, Michigan. I do not hesitate to tell anyone I'm from this city. I grew up on the north side, to be specific. Education had always been very, very important to me. I had wonderful elementary teachers who I still am in contact with today that really shaped my opinion about school in general and just overall created positive experiences. So I put that in the forefront of my life very, very young. And early on, I don't know, I was very observant and I knew that was my ticket out of um, my environment. I knew that it wasn't conducive to like the person I wanted to be as an adult. So I really clinked on to education and I attribute a lot of that to my teachers. In high school, I went to an early college. It's Michigan's first early college where high school students can dual enroll college classes while they're in high school, and you hypothetically would dual enroll 5 years of high school. And if everything goes as well, you'll leave with an associate's degree or at least college credits towards your actual degree. And at that time, I had a focus teacher, but we probably call it counselors here, and she introduced me to the PA profession. I had told her I wanted to go into medicine, but wasn't really sure which route. And she talked about the PA profession, told me to look into it. I was already a self starter at that time. I was in like ninth grade, taking 3 credit college classes. So I took it upon myself to did the research like she suggested, and I fell in love with the idea of the entire profession. I loved the history. I loved the purpose. I loved why it started to meet a need and fill a shortage. And I was just in a position to be able to start taking prerequisites as early as the 10th grade. Yeah, I started taking prerequisites 10th grade. And that's how I got started. I was obsessed with this profession. I knew that I knew two things. I knew that I would have to get myself to that point, and no one wasn't really aware of it. So that really reaffirmed me having to really get myself to that point. So I made a plan. I had like a 5 to 6 year plan, knew what I wanted to do, knew how I wanted to do it, and here I am. So the current area that I work in is actually in an area where the number one public university is located. So that's in Ann Arbor, Michigan. And it's been a great learning curve and an overall new perspective that has placed on me since I've started there. I've been there for 2 years. I practice in mental health psychiatry. Most of my patient population are professional students and working professionals and children. So it's been really interesting to see how people seek mental health services during a rigorous time in their academic career. And I can't help but see myself in mostly all my patients when I am helping them, because we all know PA school can really create some of those stressors that most of my patients struggle with now. But I think I would be remiss if I didn't talk about working in Flint, Michigan, where I started my career. It's my hometown. Like I said, I'm from Flint. Won't ever miss a chance to bring that up. And I started my career working for the family medicine practice where I went to as a patient myself. So it was a full circle moment that my supervising physician was also my PCP growing up, my pediatrician growing up. And it was a great experience seeing my own community. I was taking care of the friends that I grew up with, their parents, their siblings, and overall, just seeing them feel safe and relieved when they saw me and when they knew that I was going to take the best care into my hands and really help them out. It was really rewarding, and that was pretty much that was the best decision I could have made to start my career as a PA, because it helped me build compassion, more compassion for people, and pride in the job. I really carry a lot of pride in whatever I do, and it was great to start that off in my hometown. An experience that has definitely highlighted the importance of our work is actually our current AAPA student president. Her name is Brittany Dawkins. She is a proud member of the PAC, who we've had the pleasure of meeting maybe about 4 years ago. She attended our annual event that we have in person each year, and it was in DC at the time, and I was able to meet her, and she was coming. She talked to Samora and I, and talked about her struggles with getting into PA school, and wanted our advice and guidance, just like a lot of the students who attend these events. What was interesting about her, though, was we really encouraged her to apply the cycle that she um, she met us in, and we really encouraged her, and she got denied despite our advice, and it really discouraged her. And it was her second, I believe, her second um, CASPA cycle. But long story short, she ended up applying. She ended up attending an informational event that we had with Ithaca's College. Loved the program. Loved the program director at the time, Dr. Susan Salashore, and applied, was accepted, and now she is the student president of APA. And the reason why I wanted to highlight her is this was a student who was now at the time a third time applicant. So 3 years that it took her to get into a PA program, and it took a PA program to see the value in this student. And I just think about how many students who are probably like her, who have this ability to actually be a leader and help shape the profession and help influence others in the profession, and sometimes may not, get accepted or get looked passed up on based on previous, maybe academic restructuring, or some sort of issue with their application. And I just always think about her, like the fact that she's going to take this profession by storm. She's not stopping just at being the APA students president at this time. And I just think about all the leaders that can probably come through their own experiences or struggles and help the profession, because they have such unique backgrounds and experiences. Another story that I always wanted to highlight was a student. I won't give his name, but he is an international student who was struggling with PA interviews. He had about 11 interviews by the time he connected with the PAC, and over the course of 2 years of applying, and he was ready to give up by the time he saw us. He said, "Listen, Jasmine, I got one more cycle in me, and then if it doesn't work out, I have to go a different route." And we worked for about 3 weeks together, and a lot of it was confidence building with him, and just showing him that he can do it, and letting those 11 interviews go. And he got in, and I think that was the best text message I ever received, was just how he was able to finally move his family to the United States, and really start his life for not only himself, but for his family, his parents. So it highlighted two things for me. One, how this career can literally change someone's life. Um, I don't exaggerate when I say that it's changed my life, but also changed people's lives, like their family members' lives, like that is huge. And for him to now be able to kind of allow them to start their life here in America, that was amazing to know that I had a hand in that. So he's doing well, and I'm sure he's set to graduate in a few months. So those two experiences, those two students, I think about all the time, about the when it comes to the impact of the PAC's work, is we're literally letting people who have so much to offer to this world, and sometimes are not in the best spaces to showcase that, and we allow that and make that happen. So the PAC, I always love telling the story about how the PAC started, because it actually came from a failure. My favorite line, and I actually made it, so If I see it in a rap, I know it came from here. I turned my L into an M, and I wholeheartedly believe that's how the PAC started. So I attended University Detroit Mercy's PA program in 2016. It was straight out of undergrad. Like I said, I knew my path, I knew what I wanted to do, and I was a direct admit the year that I applied. And when I got there, it was a huge culture shock, which ultimately led to my performance, leading to my dismissal the second semester of PA school. Now, this is somebody who has never even received a B. So I already struggled with recognizing I was struggling in PA school. And then not only that, I was afraid to tell people. It was only two black students in the cohort at the time. I was one of them. And I just felt like I did not want to let anyone down. I don't know why, but I just kept quiet. I did not want to share that I needed help. And it that ultimately led to my dismissal. Luckily, my program allowed me to come back, and I took an 8 month break. And among that 8 months, I did do some like more clinical experience, but more importantly, I did reflection. I am really big on taking accountability, and I wanted to be a PA really bad. So I had to figure out, what do I need to do differently this time around when I return. And the one thing that I could help was creating a support system for myself. So at the time, I knew about 2 to 3 other Black PA students through Instagram, and I reached out to them and I was like, hey, I didn't feel comfortable going to my cohort for help. I'm not sure if it's the same for you. I'm assuming it is, but let's create our own cohort and we can just share resources. And if we have to vent or, support one another, this will be the space to do it. And that's what happened. I remember it was like 8 people starting off day one. Then I woke up one day and it was 28 people. Then one day, 500 people. And it just grew from there. But the biggest thing that I took from that was just being allowed to see a need and where that need was. So as the group was growing, it wasn't just PA students, it were people who was interested in becoming a PA or getting accepted into PA school. And I was able to see those pain points for students of color when they were applying based on the questions they were asking and the help they were needing from the students in the group. And that's really how I was like, okay, this is an unmet need that um you know I don't see anything out there to help. And this was back in 2017. So I was started off doing things for free, reviewing people's personal statements, meeting with them to talk about their mock interview. I mean, their interviews, their upcoming interviews at all, and things like that. Um, and mind you, I was still in school at this time. This was the semester I'm returning, so I should be really just focusing on my academics. But working with the students, it just it that really what gave me the motivation, because my mind was, I have to do well in school for me to continue to do this. I don't know why, it just felt so good to help people get accepted and really show that it's necessary to have a diverse cohort. So that's really how it grew. And then how we started to do in-person events is, one time I was going to Atlanta, and we had a lot of people in that group from Atlanta. So I put it out there like, hey guys, I'm going to Atlanta. I'll be here. I would love to meet up. And I thought it was going to be just a social environment, finally getting to meet people that I've been talking with online for almost 6 months or so. And when they came, they asked only questions. It was only questions about PA school, like applying to PA school, being a PA, and again, another unmet need. So I was like, this needs to happen more often, but actually intended to help those with those questions. And that's really how we started to do the in-person events, as well as providing services to help students gain acceptance into PA school. Some of the biggest challenges that I've experienced leading this organization has definitely been um, having more support. There's so many orgs that have been long established, who we really respect and really look up to, that I think the PAC could benefit more from partnering with. The guidance, the larger platform, the more importantly, the experience in running such a large organization, especially knowing where we want to take the PAC, would be so beneficial. In addition to monetary help, I don't know if anyone knows, but the three of us not only work on the business, we work in the business. We're the only three that also provide the services while also working full time clinical jobs. So we think that I feel that the biggest relief would be more financial relief to either hire on help or to support our students even better so we can actually take that time and finish with on working on the business so that can actually start running itself and more efficiently. The impact diversity have on patient care in the communities is just you really can't quantify it because it's at this point necessary. Our world is changing day by day. The communities that we live amongst don't even look the same. So we need our providers, the people who are making decisions for the community's health, is to be also equivalent to those communities and as diverse. When you don't have diverse a workforce, you don't have those diverse perspectives or those unique perspectives, and you also don't give a chance for patients to have that variety and choice in the type of care that they receive. It's no it's no secret that people want to be treated for by people who they feel like they can relate to. It increases comfort, it improves the patient provider relationship, and more importantly, the people who we've worked with are down to earth, can understand hardships, can understand what it means to be considered in different ways. And I think that's important to carry with you in healthcare. So diversity is important because our communities are diverse, and um, it's important for that healthcare system to mimic that. I think women in the PA profession have a bright future. One thing that I do and that I know is we have a support group ourselves, and I think it's amazing because sometimes the group is purpose is to allow people to vent, right? What the current issue is at work. I think once a week we have a group problem that someone is facing, and we all chime in our opinions and feedback and give advice. And I think that's so empowering within itself. I even had my own issue that I relied on for the group to kind of get some help with. But one thing that we see is like now that we've gotten to the point where we're in this place in this profession where we can start thinking differently. We share finances. We talk about salaries. I think that's so important because then you can kind of gauge if you're being underpaid or if you're not, being paid what you're worth for the work you're doing. Like I said, common day workplace problems that we all troubleshoot, microaggressions that some of us have faced that we again vent about and try to problem solve and help with. And more importantly, I recently just moved into promoting wellness for women in the PA profession. I experienced struggling with my mental health myself last year, and I saw how that impacted my performance. And I also saw how I ignored it because I had such a large responsibility to um, a large community, and that was not okay or safe. So, moving into mental health, that taught me how to, it showed me how important it is and how everything else falls in order in your life when you have your mental together. And I coordinate. So with that information, I coordinated a trip to a wellness resort recently. This actually last month we all went. Myself and 19 other women, all PAs, practicing from all around the country in several specialties. And we just really wanted to use that time as a not only as a way to fellowship with one another and can actually connect because we probably are the only one in our respective workplaces as well, but more importantly, have like a reset, a mental reset, mental recharge. So when we do go back to our own communities and get back to the healthcare and the work that we dedicated ourselves to, we can do that safely and well. I want people mind to change when they hear what a PA looks like. Um, I am from a girl from Flint, Michigan, who did not expect to be in this position at all. I couldn't even imagine it. And I would consider myself someone who was rough around the edges and who had to come a little more polished and think about things like that to fit in. But as I got older, I was like, I didn't want to fit in. You know, how I look or how I present myself doesn't change the work that I do and the pride that I take in it. And I just want people to understand they don't have to change themselves to get where they want. You just have to lead with your heart and with passion, and it will happen. So the legacy for me would just to change people's perspectives on um, what professionals look like and how they act. You know, I used to think I had to walk this white fine line to achieve that, but I found it more peaceful to be myself and to just take pride in where I come from and who and the person that is shaped. So I would want that legacy to be that. Like when you hear Flint, Michigan, you associate it with greatness and not, at the time when I was applying to PA schools, considered the number one worst city to live in. And I talked about that a lot because I just couldn't believe it. But changing that stereotype for me is so important and reminding people that great things come from wherever if you pay attention enough. I don't know if y'all know, but I study sociology, and I've learned early on in high school that people where I come from not supposed to make it to where I am, And I think I'm so passionate about helping everybody because I see me every time that somebody come for help and don't have a PA to shadow or don't know someone to write their letter recommendation, and that drives me nuts because I was in that same position. Like I would be tutoring my counterparts who were struggling in chemistry, but I was doing well, but they were getting accepted faster than me because they had people in their corner who knew people, and it just frustrated me that I didn't have that privilege. Ways that you can support the PAC is through a number of things. We are always looking for mentors if that is your lane. We understand that mentorship isn't everyone's cup of tea. So if time isn't available for you, obviously any financial contributions you can make, being an ally and supporting us is always something we're in need of. Um, Telling people about us, spreading the word. If you have a student that you think will benefit, or a PA of color, a PA student of color who is struggling, pointing them into our direction. We accept everyone with open arms and really want everyone to feel like community and ultimately reach the common goal of you being able to practice as a PA. So the top 5 things that Jasmine does to decompress from all the things she has going on is number one, for sure, Pilates. Jasmine does not miss a weekend. Okay, that is not only a hobby of mine, but it incorporated into my lifestyle now. I love to travel. I think that is a great way to see the world and gain new perspectives and meet different people. I This is so random, but I love getting up really, really early and having a cup of tea and it being so quiet and just having that little bit of time to myself, whether it's an hour or two. That is the best. I notice whenever I have a morning where I can do that, the day after that, the day following that is just amazing. Um, and number 4, I love concerts. I love concerts. And 5, go to my mom's house. So we do this thing. She does my hair. She braid like sometimes I let her do my hair, and it just puts me back in this um this little kid space. Sometimes you need that when you've been an adult for too long. So going to my mom's, getting that support, getting that love, a mama's love is irreplaceable. So yeah, family, Pilates, traveling, concerts, and that cup of tea. The advice that I would give to anyone who wants to be a PA is understand what you are committing yourself to. And I'm not going to be hard on anyone because I didn't realize this until my I was probably about 6 months into practice, and I had this epiphany, like, I am making decisions for people. Like, they, whatever comes out of my mouth, they are taking it for fact and truth, and trust it, and you know under my recommendations, doing whatever that I recommend. And I carried so much pride once I realized the significance. So I say all that to say, if you plan on being a PA, or if you desire to be a PA, you need to understand that you are committing yourself to being more than just a PA. You're committing yourself to not only be a leader in your community, a servant leader in your community, to be specific, but you need to be setting the example and taking pride in this work, and knowing that eventually you will be in charge of someone's life. And that sounds, I heard this a lot throughout PA school. I heard this a lot even applying, but it did not really stick until I was actually doing it. And I really wish that point can be driven home a little bit more before this point, because um it's important, that is going to be your driver to when you do face hiccups, when things don't go the way that you expect them to, or when you're ready to give up. You need to understand what you are dedicating yourself to, and that's to be essentially keeping people alive and healthy. And you need to take pride in that. You need to take this seriously. You need to understand that you have to have passion with this, empathy with this, and know that you can do it, but understand the work behind it. It's, being a PA, being a healthcare provider in general is huge work, but being a PA is always been special to me. And I'm not being biased at all, but the fact that we can jump specialties. A point that I wanted to add, I love that I was able to move into psychiatry at the time of the pandemic. I think that's what makes PA so unique. We can literally switch to meet a specific need. The mental health crises from the pandemic skyrocketed that year, and I was able to pivot to help with that. And I think that's so important in the profession. That flexibility allow us to answer and be the first to the front lines if that issue was to ever rise again. And then advice that I would give anyone who wants to support the PAC is to reach out. I am very personable, easily accessible. Actually, all of us are. So if you want to connect, we don't bite. And I look forward to meeting anyone who wants to make that connection.